Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is a request today for a soup. And soup is something that I do enjoy, but I never used to make it because I don't know if you found it, but I used to try different soup recipes and then I would find that they were too thick or they didn't taste as nice as I thought they would. Sometimes they were too bland. Sometimes you would make them and you'd think, no, I prefer other people's. I think most people will have a family member who makes an amazing homemade soup, and it's quite often classically your mum or your gran. I had an uncle who used to make amazing homemade soup. It was so good. So I don't have a homemade soup recipe, but this is my go-to soup because it's so filling and so nice that it actually does me as a dinner. And I am not a soup for dinner person. I always think that soup is fine for lunch, but I never find that it fills me up for dinner, apart from this one. What I also like to do is maybe put some veg on the side so that I feel as if it really is filling and it will see me through until tomorrow. So this is a sweet potato and coconut soup. And the ingredients that we've got are, we've got a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in the pot, but that could be the oil of your choice. A small onion, and I'm going to tell you right now that I think life's too short to chop onions when they're going to be blitzed. So honestly, frozen onion that's pre-cut for you all the way. It's about £1 for a big bag. Just put in what you need, solves the problem. Obviously, when you need onion specifically for a dish and you want it cut in a certain way, do it yourself. But when you know it's going into something that's getting blitzed, frozen onion. Then you can leave it out if you want, but I really think the ginger does add to it. So we've got about 1 inch of ginger with the cutest, tiniest grater in the world, so I'm going to grate that in. 2 medium sweet potatoes, a can of coconut milk, and I deliberately go for the ones that have got the really thick coconut cream on top because I think that really does add something to it. Salt and pepper to taste, and then obviously you've got your stock, your main element. So this is 400 mils of your chosen stock. So I've got chicken stock here, but it could easily be vegetable if you wanted. So what I'm going to do is move these off the hob. I've also got the blender here, the Vitamix. You can use any blender you want, or you can use a hand blender, the choice is yours. And I've also got some cashews here because if you want, you can just bash them up and make them into small chunks and sprinkle it on the top if you want. Cashews, peanuts, anything you like. You don't have to, but if you want to just finish off your soup with a little sprinkle, it can really add to it as well. So let's get started. Right, so that's us browned off our onions and our ginger's in here, and now I'm going to add in the sweet potato, and then I'll just quickly give it a little mix just to warm it up, because it's actually going to cook in the stock. And then next what I'll do is I'm going to take this coconut milk and I'm just going to use the top part, and this takes, I don't really want the liquid, so I'm being careful here. This tends to come out quite dramatically if you're not careful. Right here. So that's our coconut cream. Right, so can you see that liquid there? I'm keeping that for something else, but by all means, if you wanted to, you could put that in. But what I'm going to do is put this coconut cream in here and just work that, melt it down basically. So again, you don't have to do that. You get quite a lot of coconut milks and they don't have the thick cream at the top, but I really do prefer that. And I can turn this heat up a little bit again. So once that's melted down, we then just add the stock, but I like to make sure that's completely broken down and there's no lumps. At this stage, if you wanted, you could use your salt and pepper to taste, but I'd be wary of using salt because you're using stock, and unless you've made the stock yourself, and you might be using a cube or a pre-made stock, they tend to be quite salty anyway. So I would hold back on the salt until the end, but you can definitely add your pepper in if you want. Right, so I'm happy with that. So now I'm going in with my 400 mils of stock. And that's that, and then we can get that heat. It's already up to max. So what we're doing now, this will probably come to a gentle boil, and then it's really a case of boiling it just until the sweet potatoes cooked, which doesn't take long, under 10 minutes I'd say. So it's just going to take a little bit of time just to come up, bring the heat up. Your stock's warm, but obviously when you mix everything together, you bring the entire temperature of the pot down. So it just takes a bit of time. Already I can smell it. What you're getting the blend of is definitely the ginger and the coconut. But if you chose to leave the ginger out, then the sweet potato and the coconut with, again, if you balance it out with some pepper, that definitely adds to the mix too. So you can come back to me in a moment and I'll show you when this is ready to blend. Right, so I've let it boil, and then what I did was I turned the heat off and it very gently came down off the boil. And you might not be able to see the steam, maybe you can, 3D. But that's it now. The sweet potatoes cooked. Everything, all the different flavours have worked themselves together, so I can smell it. It smells really nice. And what we're going to do now is blend it. So again, if it was a hand blender, now's your chance to just get in there and do it. But I'm going to use the Vitamix. So I'll just pour it into here and then I'll show you the finishing result. And it's a nice thick soup, not too thick, but it's nice and silky and thick. So just before we pour out our soup, I'll let you see how it looks. That's it in the Vitamix. I've just kept it in it. And that's just because it's going to be so easy to pour out. But you could easily put it back into the pot and then just warm it up when you need to. They always say with soup, never boil it once you've actually made it. So I would warm it up, but again, I wouldn't want to see it boiling. So that's it there. As with a lot of soups too, they taste nicer with each day. And with this particular soup, some people have said that it actually tastes, it's not a curry by any means, as you know, obviously with the ingredients, but it can actually move into lending itself quite nicely to a dinner where you could actually put things like chicken into it or corn, and then it almost becomes like a coconutty, creamy sauce. So you can play about with the soup, make it thicker, make it thinner. So just for our little topping, I've got some cashew nuts here, and I'm just breaking them up. You don't need to use a pestle and mortar, but I've got one. So how often do you get the chance to use one? So because I asked for one many years ago, whenever I can, I actually do choose to use it. So it's a bit of fun, but you don't want to make it into a powder, you just want to make it crunchy. So that's our cashew there, I'm happy with that. So let's get a bowl out. Right, so there's our bowl. Pour out our soup. You can see the consistency. That is lovely. Very nice. And then what we can do, if you want, if you haven't already added pepper, sprinkle a little bit of pepper on top. Completely up to you. And then just take some of our cashews and just sprinkle them on the top. Just a nice little finish. Don't have to do that, obviously, that's just a little extra thing. And I would have that on its own, I would have it with hot bread. Oh, just easily just work my way through the bowl myself. But as you can see, there's actually nothing to it. It's really easy. I would consider it healthy. Obviously, you take too much of anything and you might regret it. But overall, that's one of my favourite soups to make. Let me know what you think. If you'd like to see more, I'm always happy to do that. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again soon.